Do not let anyone tell you that pushback does not matter. Look at this. This was the headline Tuesday night at the Washington Post. DOJ to cancel government contracts that help veterans, records show. Quote, the 875 contracts on the chopping block help cover medical services, fund cancer programs, recruit doctors, and provide burial services to veterans, according to internal VA documents. Also, a contract to, quote, safely dispose of chemical waste. Yeah, who needs that? Look, the word waste is right there. Let's cut that. So this is the VA. This is healthcare for American military veterans. Here's Donald Trump announcing proudly as president, right? We're slashing funding for cancer care for American military veterans. Also, burial services. Literally, burial services for veterans. And hey, just toss that chemical waste out back behind the shed. It'll be fine. But put that back up there. That was the headline at the Washington Post Tuesday night. DOJ to cancel government contracts that help veterans. This was Tuesday night. But then look at this. This was less than 24 hours later. Ding! Under pressure, VA halts contract cancellations in major reversal. After one night and one day of shock and outrage at what Trump was doing, hey, turns out they decided to reverse it. Not going to do it. Don't let anybody tell you that pushback doesn't work. That said, it's not like they're leaving veterans alone. The Trump administration fired 1,000 people who work at the VA 2 weeks ago. This week, they fired 1,400 more people who work at the VA. Leo Shane, reporting at the Military Times, quote, officials said the moves did not impact any mission-critical jobs, but, quote, did not provide any specifics of the types of assignments that were eliminated. One VA official telling NBC News, quote, it's leading to paralysis and nothing is getting done. The official described absolute chaos at the agency, with even Trump political appointees afraid to misstep and incur a backlash from either the White House or the public. As bad as this already is, though, heads up that the kinds of cuts we've seen this far might be an order of magnitude smaller than the cuts that Trump has coming next. The American Prospect was first to report that the Social Security Administration is preparing to slash fully 50% of its workers. That would mean filing nearly 30,000 people who work on getting people their Social Security checks. Social Security Administration has already lost thousands of employees in the last decade. They want to cut 30,000 people now. That kind of a mass firing, called a reduction in force, is reportedly being planned all across federal agencies. But slashing jobs and programs for veterans in particular is not something the Trump administration is going to be able to do quietly with no pushback. That's obvious. Military Times says Leo Shane was on a call with lawmakers this afternoon about federal workers being fired. He posted this quote from Virginia Senator Tim Kaine. Quote, I think Donald Trump in 6 weeks has already achieved the record of having fired more veterans than any president in the history of the United States. That is not a distinction, he says. Quote, that is a disgrace. Joining us now is Leo Shane. He's deputy editor at Military Times. Mr. Shane, Leo, it's nice to see you. Thank you very much for being back.
I appreciate the invite.
What's your understanding of how this 24-hour reversal went down at the VA? They announced all these cuts and then they took it all back. What happened?
Yeah, I'm not sure that they have taken it all back. We've gotten an official word from VA that they're reviewing these contracts and that they will make sure that there's no impact. There's concerns about it. But I've talked to sources within the VA and some of these offices. They haven't gotten official word that these have been rescinded. They're still working under the assumption that these will eventually go away, that at least most of the contracts they've started looking at will disappear at some point in the future here. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. I think the VA is now realizing just how deep some of these cuts are, and they're trying to claw back. Maybe some of these will be reversed, but at least officially, these offices haven't been told that they're in the clear.
I mean, burial services for veterans, cancer care in terms of veterans' health care, disposal of hazardous waste and medical waste from VA facilities. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. Are they making a substantive case that these are legitimately things that veterans should not have? Or is the idea that some of these things were a mistake and they didn't notice they were such core services?
The common theme with these contracts seems to be that they're not direct services. So these aren't like doctors who are working directly with a patient, or someone who's actually taking over a funeral and actually transporting a casket or doing things like that. These are support services. So it may be a contract who helps coordinate that. I've heard from folks who are involved in benefits processing who aren't directly doing the benefits claims themselves, but what they are doing is they're helping guide veterans through that process, making it easier for them. So clearly a very valuable service, but at least in the eyes of someone in the administration, it's not a direct benefit to veterans. So that's what seems to be the trip up here. The VA is insisting that they're not going to hurt anything that would benefit veterans, beneficiaries, families, but it feels like they're going after these secondary services that are still very valuable, but maybe don't directly touch veterans in connecting them to medical care or some sort of disability payout.
And they fired more than 2,000 people who work there already. Leo, I have to ask you tonight about a late-breaking legal development. Tonight, there's been this ruling from a federal judge in California that the memos from the Trump administration, from OPM, directing the firing of employees, probationary employees, that was illegal advice. And the judge tonight has ordered that OPM should communicate this to the Defense Department right now ahead of planned mass firings tomorrow. Do you have any sense of what impact this ruling might have on planned mass firings at the Defense Department or at the VA?
Yeah, right now we're just guessing. I have heard that there were scheduled mass firings at VA tomorrow as well with the Defense Department. So those might be on hold at this point. I mean, as you said, the judge's ruling, we've just got the loose parameters of it right now. He does say that he doesn't have the power to reinstate anyone, but that OPM also doesn't have the power to fire anyone. So it feels like this might just end up in a situation where VA has to actually take the step of being the ones who order the dismissals, being the ones who actually accept the responsibility for it. And that's not a small task. As you referenced, there's a lot of lawmakers out there who are furious with Secretary Doug Collins for not standing up for veterans, for not doing his part to say everything in VA should be protected. So, we'll see in the next few days here exactly what it means for those folks who've been dismissed.
Well, I may be calling you during business hours tomorrow, Leo, to try to get a handle on what happens here, and that as we try to put some specifics on this evolving story. Leo Shane, deputy editor at Military Times. Thank you, as always, for your time tonight, Leo.
We'll be tracking all of it. I appreciate it.
Indeed, I know you will. We're grateful for it.